The kidnapper was on the phone.
もう9時になるか。そろそろ弟たちを寝かしつける時間じゃないか。
次はどこに？
Tsubaki asked, breathing hard.
お金は必ず渡しますから、弟を返してください。
そればかりだな。
ひろあきが帰ってくればそれでいいんです。
だが本当にいいのか？
え？
身代金を渡したりしていいのか？
What are you saying at this point? Tsubaki already lacks the strength to think things through.
その金は家族の全財産ではないのか？
はい。
金を失えば弟は帰ってくるかもしれんが、お前たちは路頭に迷うことになるのではないか。それでもいいのか？
弟の命には変えられませんから。
The criminal sighed, impressed.
命は金に換えられないというが、果たして本当にそうなのかな？
当たり前です。お金より大事に決まっているじゃないですか。
そういった決まり文句こそ貧乏を経験したことのない何よりの証拠だと思うがな。
Sure, Tsubaki has never seen her parents worried about being poor. Her family might not be rich, but they definitely not impoverished. The kidnapper kept on repeating questions that she couldn't understand. These subjects confused her. Just what do they have to do with the ransom?
早く終わらせませんか？
もう限界か？
いえ、ただいつまで続くのかと。
弟の命がかかっているのに弱音を吐くのか？
In an instant, the flame in Tsubaki's heart burned again.
違います。弟に早く会いたいだけです。
Utterly unforgivable. Tsubaki immediately began to doubt herself for feeling such intense hatred for this unforgivable criminal. But at the moment that her words had burst the dam, she couldn't stop.
許さないから。ひろあきに何かしたら許さないから。
She could no longer understand anything. What happened to the self that was worried about the kidnapper's feeling? What would happen if she provoked him again? I just want to see Hiroki. That was the only thought in her heart. The kidnapper suddenly spoke up.
次が最後の指示だ。今すぐ駅のロッカーからケースを回収しろ。そして9時半までにセントラル街のハンバーガーショップの前まで来い。
There's no longer any time to write in her diary.
9時半ですか？
It'll be a stretch to make the trip in the short amount of time remaining.
急げばなんとか間に合う。店の前の歩道にケースを置いてすぐに走り去る。
わかりました。
She can only obey.
以上だ。遅れたら弟の命はない。今度は絶対だ。身代金を確認したら追って連絡する。
The call ended. Tsubaki kept the call to her ear for a moment longer. She had never thought that paying the ransom would be so exhausting. The kidnapper said this would be the last place. Up until now, he said that every single time, and it was a lie every single time. Still, this time feels different. She thought of the family waiting for her at home. Her parents are probably worried about her. I'll be back soon. Haru chased after Tsubaki with all her strength. As she sprinted through Central Boulevard, she rushed into the station and retrieved the briefcase. Tsubaki might be tired, but she still moves amazingly quickly. It's like she's using every ounce of strength remaining in her body. The train station was in chaos. She had no time to look for Kyousuke, who was supposed to be guarding the locker. Damn it! Haru swept her gaze across the chaotic street. Her line of sight was blocked almost completely. Young people filled the streets like a mudslide. Just how many people has she bumped into already? The shape of Tsubaki's coat would often get swallowed by the sea of people, momentarily gone without a trace. This is the route that Haru usually takes on the way to home after work, but this is the first time she's seen it in this crowd. She noted the reason for this almost instantly. A live television broadcast. Everyone who wanted to see Canon or be on television pressed ever close to the stage. On either side of the road were cars from the station and staff manning equipment. This is the moment Maou has been waiting for. It was so chaotic, it was suffocating. Truly an excellent chance to grab the ransom. Haru wanted to stop Tsubuki to ask her where she was bringing the ransom, but her shouts were lost in the din of the crowd. Tsubaki didn't have time for questions anyway. Maou must be urging her on. To have Tsubaki at the speed he's never asked of her before meant that, to Maou, this is the moment where the winner will be decided. If I'm going to act, it has to be now. Haru charged toward Tsubaki. Tsubaki, breathing hard, finally reached her destination. She relentlessly prayed, please don't let it be 9:30. The girl pushes through the sea of people, surging straight forward, knocking into the crowd. People yell and curse at her. She causes a lot of people trouble. However, she can't spare the time to apologize anymore. She was in a hurry. She even fell down, dropping the briefcase onto the ground. That briefcase, more important than a life. She held it tightly as she crossed the deluge of people with blinding speed. Tsubaki stopped. She looked around casually. It should be okay to drop it here, right? It wouldn't be picked up by someone who isn't involved in this, wouldn't it? The kidnapper said to put down the briefcase and run. At that moment, an unbelievable bright voice shot through the crowd from the nearby amplifiers. That's Canon! Tsubaki was speechless, unable to believe her ears. Why is Canon? It was way beyond her comprehension. Still, she heard it clearly. It's 9:30. If I don't drop the briefcase and run, Hiraki is dead. Now, at the exact moment Tsubaki sets the attached case on the ground, I went into action. I walked through the crowd, closing in the briefcase quickly. I gripped the briefcase tightly. It's been 5 seconds since it left its previous owner. Everyone's eyes are focused on the radiant entrance of the famous figure skater, Azai Kyousuke. This confusion is what I wanted. I've been waiting all day to coordinate my retrieval on the ransom with this broadcast. This chaos is what I wanted. Even if the police were right behind me, I have confidence that I would escape. That would be true for one reason alone. I am simply too familiar with the city. I've considered many escape routes. Usami is simply a girl. What can she do? A shout from behind me penetrated the din of the spectacle. It was Usami. It seems that she has been closely following Tsubaki. She caught a glimpse of me? Anyway, Usami, just how many people do you think are carrying briefcases in this bustle of people so close to the business district? As I expected, no one paid attention to me. Shouting is useless now. I straightened up, walking casually. If there was a thief, they'd be running for their life. No one would think that I was a kidnapper. No, something's wrong. Along with the shiver down my spine, the stage speaker sent a sound to me. Goddamn cannon! The broadcast could pose trouble. If I face the cameras, there's a chance they'll be on film. If my face surfaces during a petty little game like this, it may affect future plans. I want to run right now, but doing so would be like announcing to everyone that I'm a thief. I crossed paths with someone and took the opportunity to peek behind me. I caught a glimpse of Usami's long hair through the crowd. Just for an instant, Haru saw the figure of a man holding a briefcase. That was Maou. She continued to push forward while trying her hardest to break through the mass of people. The next time she saw Maou, Haru ran straight into someone's arms. After a word of apology, she escaped through his side. With anxiety urging her on, she continued searching for Maou. There! Though the wall of men, women, and children, Haru could only get a glimpse of the briefcase. She surged forward with all her might in order to break through the barricade of people. The distance between them didn't decrease. Haru held out her hand in the crowded tide of passerby. Just a bit further, she thought. Just a bit farther, and I'll catch you, Maou. I've passed the most chaotic part of the crowd. Did I successfully lose Usami? It's dangerous to turn my head around. There's a chance my face will be seen. Usami might be able to reach me any second now. Should I take a taxi, perhaps? But with traffic the way it is right now, no car can take off immediately. No, wait, a taxi! I watched the side mirrors mounted on the taxis that lined the streets as I walked. I was in luck. The mirrors clearly reflected the uniform and hair of Usami, still trailing me. It looks like she's holding something in her hand. She's less than 10 yards away. Usami was likely able to get a lock on me and is in pursuit. I don't want to attract attention, but there's no other choice. I break into a run. Maou suddenly took off. He didn't even turn back. How did he know that she was getting closer? Shortly thereafter, Haru saw the parked taxi strewn about on the road and started to lament. Haru looked at Mao's retreating figure. He was a very tall man. It was similar to the person that had confronted her last time, the man who called himself Maou. Because his legs were longer than hers, the distance between them just continued to increase. Yet chasing him was quite easy. To run in a crowd such as this means gathering attention. The sound of people he pushed, the confused stares, all were focused on Maou. While pushing her way through the idle bystanders, Haru watched as Maou went inside a coffee shop. Like a rat in a trap, Haru thought. But when Haru arrived in the front of the store, she cursed her own thoughtlessness. It was a large-scale chain coffee shop. The shop covered a large area, being at the crossing of a major intersection. Of course, there was more than 2 exits. Even if it was just for a moment, she regretted slowing down. Maou ran in intentionally. That must mean he knows the city like the back of his hand. Should she give chase until the end? Haru asked herself a question that needed no answer. No matter what, she wanted to catch him, both for Tsubaki and for herself. After catching through Central Boulevard, the crowd began to thin out considerably. I turned around and took a few glances. Even though it's hard to see in the nighttime lightning, the sound of people's insults reached me just fine. Looks like Usami is still on my trail. She's quite stubborn. Let's get rid of her completely. Jumping over the railing of the sidewalk, I rushed into the road. I ran in front of cars moving at a snail's pace due to the traffic jam, and made it into the sidewalk on the other side. The car's blaring horns are unending. This should help Usami find me more easily. I continued to my charge as I turned into a discreet alley, a dark alley. After seeing what awaited me there, I knew I had already won. This game of tag is over now. I took out a handkerchief and covered my fingers, ensuring that I won't leave fingerprints. Just how many times has she said that since 9:30? Each time she was showered with an annoyed stares and condemnations. The thing she carried was bulky. Haru glanced around, chasing after Mao's image. Even though they'd left the extravagance of Central Boulevard, it was still very bright out. The hundreds of cars on the streets, all with lights on, were a very reliable boost to the visibility. The sound of horns suddenly rang out from the road. Glancing over, it seemed like a man who looked like Mao was casually jaywalking. His face was hidden behind the blindly bright headlights of vehicles he blitzed past. It was regrettable, but there was nothing Haru could do about it. Just like that, Mao turned into an alley between two buildings. Haru hurriedly pursued him. It was an incredibly narrow alley with a horrible line of sight. Not even two people would be able to walk abreast. Is he inviting me to follow him? Even though Haru was reluctant, there wasn't much more room for her to think. As she gave chase, rushing into the darkness, she felt something weird under her foot. She lost her balance and fell forward to the ground. It was the feel of flesh. Haru was shocked, and the thing that she stepped on screamed. As she calmed down, she realized it was a human leg. She stopped. She stooped down instinctively. A peculiar putrid odor filled her nose. A few homeless men sat to the ground. They stared at Haru with lifeless eyes before losing interest again. They seemed to be distracted by something. They were kneeling furiously, moving their hands. It looked like they were digging, as if they were trying to stir the darkened ground. Money! Haru could see a few bills poking out from under their hands. I've already lost, she said to herself, full of regret. She lifted her head and glanced down to the other end of the alley. Maou, the enigma whom Haru had her sights nailed to, was nowhere to be seen. A murmur escaped her lips before a wave of exhaustion overcame her. The long day battle had finally come to an end.